This young man is our main character, Dodd Campbell. At the moment, he's stuck in a ridiculously absurd situation. Every single female protagonist, as well as every female antagonist, wants to become his wife. This has even escalated into a full-blown husband war. For an ordinary person, being in a situation like this would probably be a dream come true, enough to make them go crazy with joy. But not Dodd. He remains completely clear-headed. Dodd is fully aware of his role as a background character. He knows very well he's not blessed enough to enjoy this kind of fortune. If he keeps getting entangled with these important characters, he'll end up dead before long. But things never go the way he wants. If you want to know the details, please give us a like and subscribe. Then come back and keep watching. The story begins with a scene of Dodd gazing absent-mindedly out the window, his thoughts wandering. According to the butterfly effect, the fate of humanity can change with a single, simple choice. In other words, it's a kind of domino phenomenon. At least, that's how I see it. After all, I've made quite a few choices by now. Unfortunately, just as Dodd was thinking this, a girl's voice suddenly rang out from outside, startling him. "Darling, hey, darling, are you listening? I know you're in there. That's why I came. You better open the door." I already asked Ophelia, the club's housekeeper. She said you didn't have any classes today. Are you seriously going to ignore me until the end? Hearing the familiar voice behind the door, Dodd's face turned pale, as if he was about to die. Sweat streamed down his face as he screamed internally, "There's no stalker worse than her." As if to confirm Dodd's fears, the girl outside suddenly thrust a sword through the door, as if she was trying to break it down. "Fine, I'll make my own way in, then," she said calmly. Meanwhile, Dodd cursed her in his heart. This psycho. Thinking quickly, he reached out his hand and shouted, "Stop, that's against the rules. Only the student council president is allowed to punish rule breakers." To this, the girl coldly replied with a bombshell. "Too bad for you. I am the student council president." Before Dodd could even process that, the door shattered into splinters and collapsed. Then the mysterious girl stepped inside and coldly remarked, "You've been avoiding me quite a lot lately. Exactly 32 times. You're even keeping count?" Dodd groaned, but the girl didn't care. She calmly made a proposal to our main character. "Let me ask you, Dodd Campbell, will you marry me?" She was dressed in what looked like a military uniform, with a long sword strapped to her waist. Before Dodd could respond, another female voice suddenly cut in from nearby. "What exactly do you think you're saying? Princess Tristan, didn't expect you to aim for a flower pot that's already taken. Is that how your family operates?" These words came from a purple-haired girl, who was calmly sitting near the window. What stood out was that she had animal ears on top of her head. Upon seeing her, Tristan's gaze turned cold and serious. "Isn't that spot a bit too exposed for an assassin? There will be a lot of witnesses." In response, the girl, Sarah's, stuck out her tongue playfully and teased, "Wiping out all witnesses is part of my code." Down below, Dodd blinked in disbelief and quickly cut in. "Wait a second, I'm seriously uncomfortable right now. I haven't even thought about marriage yet." The moment he finished saying that, his rooftop exploded. A blue-haired girl descended from above, landing gracefully on the ground. Seeing her, Dodd sighed and muttered, "Li Lu?" Of course, Li Lu had the exact same intention as the others. She turned to Dodd, eyes sparkling, and declared, "Live with me, Dodd. The wedding prep is done. All that's left is for you to come with me." Before he could respond, a black-haired girl suddenly appeared, her face radiating a fierce aura, swinging a chain in her hand toward Li Lu. "How rude," she shouted. At the same time, Li Lu fired back sarcastically, "Dodd, seriously? What have you been doing to attract all these half-baked girls around you? You're my fiancé. I'm not letting this go." And just as she finished, a red-haired girl flew in on a blazing broomstick. "Will you all just shut up already? You jealous bitches. Dodd Campbell is mine." At that point, every single girl glared at one another, eyes blazing with fire. They all knew one thing: the others wouldn't give up Dodd easily. So, without hesitation, they all launched into a full-blown brawl. And Dodd? Stuck right in the middle of the chaos. He could only scream in despair. "Why are all of you spouting nonsense without asking me? How the hell did it even come to this?" Let's rewind a bit. It all started because of a survival game called Savior Rising, or SR for short. It's a youth academy story. Designed for passionate, energetic young players. The world has a very weeaboo-like vibe. But the characters are familiar and consistent. When I cleared the game and saw the ending, I thought it was fun, kind of fulfilling. But then, the next day, I was dragged into the game world itself. Sounds absurd, right? It's not like I cursed the game and got punished by some divine developer or anything. I wasn't even emotionally attached to the protagonist. But regardless, I somehow ended up as Dodd Campbell. Dodd had no power whatsoever. He was merely the heir to an unknown viscount. Nothing more than a background character. Ranked Class B in this world. Agriculture was the main industry in the Campbell Viscounty. Moreover, this territory didn't even have any dungeons. The kind that usually appeared throughout the Empire. It was barely even mentioned in the main story of Savior Rising, SR. That's why the fact that the son of a humble viscount was admitted to the Royal Academy became a shocking, earth-shattering event. On the day Dodd was preparing to depart for school, his father, along with the entire population of the territory, gathered to see him off, celebrating the moment like it was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. His father couldn't even hold back his emotions. "You're finally leaving, Dodd. You are the pride of our land. Take care of yourself, and don't cause trouble." Elfonte is the academy where the descendants of all noble families in the empire gather. The best thing you, a mere viscount's son, can do, is to not draw any attention. Understand? Asterisk. His father's warnings were excessively detailed. Dodd could only chuckle awkwardly. Haha, I told you I get it, didn't I? Before leaving, Dodd checked his status screen. Status information, Dodd Campbell. Strength, F. Agility, F. Endurance, F. Luck, F. Authority, F. Skills, none. Proficiencies, none. Special talent, none. Unique gift, none. Looking at this absolutely pathetic status, Dodd broke into a cold sweat. He had no idea how he was supposed to survive the academy, let alone graduate, with stats like this. All F ranks, even with all his gaming experience. He had never seen a starting profile this miserable. Right now, the system had assigned him a main quest. Enroll in the academy and get assigned to a class. According to game logic, if he ignored the quest, the game would force a bad ending. Why? Because Elfonte Academy, the school he was about to attend, would soon be thrown into chaos by the cruelty of the antagonists. There's no way I'm doing anything that might endanger my life. Thinking this, Dodd gave his father a look of absolute confidence. Don't worry, Dad. I'll do my best to stay completely under the radar. I won't chase after ridiculous dreams of raising our family's status. I'll even keep my grades below average. And with that, he said goodbye to everyone and boarded the train heading for the Royal Academy. But the heavens seemed to have other plans. Nothing ever went Dodd's way. Wasn't the female lead supposed to do everything herself? Staying unnoticed. That was the true way of someone who wanted to live in peace. His academy life had just begun. Yet from the very beginning, why the hell am I sitting on the same train as her? In front of him now was an incredibly beautiful girl with silver hair. She was using the train ride to read a book and enjoy a cup of tea. But don't let her beautiful, elegant demeanor fool you. With all his gaming experience, Dodd was absolutely certain the girl sitting in front of me is an AI. Her name was Elnor Elinorize La Tristan, the bloodthirsty one, the one who buried thousands of corpses beneath her feet. The final boss of this world. In most storylines, she and the protagonist clashed repeatedly, gradually losing their sanity in battle. Eventually, the dormant entity known as the Grey Demon awakened and devoured Elnor's body, turning her into the final boss, an entity that only the fully developed protagonist could ever hope to defeat. Right now, Elnor sat across from Dodd, still quietly reading her book. But somehow, she seemed to sense Dodd's gaze, and suddenly spoke up. Do you need a doctor? You don't look well. Hearing the Villainous speak to him directly, Dodd instantly turned pale, and frantically waved his hands. No, I'm fine, really. But Elnor continued, without even looking away from her book. I chose to sit here instead of in first class. On purpose. As a symbol that my family, the ducal house of Tristan, though high-ranking nobles, are still considerate of others. I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. Everyone who shares a carriage with me usually reacts the same way. Her voice was cool and calm, yet it left Dodd with a strange, Unfamiliar feeling. He thought to himself. She's different from what I remember. The key phrases that described Elnor in the game were always things like perfection obsessed and bold to a fault. So what was the meaning of this sensitive, considerate side? From Elnor's point of view, seeing that Dodd didn't respond to her comment, she asked again, so, why didn't you answer? Are you thinking about something else? Dodd scratched his head awkwardly. No, it's nothing. You're really kind. Hearing this, Elnor paused her reading, looked at Dodd, and asked, kind? Are you hearing strange rumors about me? Have we met before? Faced with this question, Dodd instantly panicked. He silently cursed himself. Crap, what am I doing? Then he quickly replied, no, I just heard you were kind of strict. That's all. Elnor sighed, and calmly returned to her book. You're quite a strange one. To that, Dodd could only force a crooked smile. Yeah, I've been told that a lot. Heh. After that, he began silently praying. Please, I'm just a background character. Don't involve me. Don't drag me into anything. He turned away and stared out the window. That's right, just stay quiet. And enjoy the view. But as he was thinking that, he noticed something. The scenery was breathtaking. And, wait, is that a boulder rolling toward us? Dodd's eyes widened in horror. The massive rock was flying straight toward their window. There was no time left. If he wanted to survive, he had to act now. Dodd immediately turned to Elnor for help. Student Council President, please forgive me. Without hesitation, he lunged toward her, and just 1 second later, a massive boulder smashed directly into their train car, triggering a colossal explosion. Thick plumes of smoke shot up into the sky. But despite the sudden catastrophe, Dodd and Elnor were completely unharmed. Why? Because they were both protected by a certain magical necklace. Dodd knew this. That's exactly why he had jumped into Elnor's arms. To get within the protection radius of the artifact. The necklace was a piece of equipment that automatically deployed armor around mature skeletons. Elnor always kept it with her. With all my stats at F rank, Dodd thought, grinding his teeth, I would have died for sure without that barrier. He silently braced himself and waited for the shockwave to pass. Only when Elnor's voice cut through the silence did he snap back to reality. Are you okay? Could you move a little? You're kind of heavy. Her words made Dodd freeze in place. That's when he realized his face was buried deep in her massive chest. Bright red with embarrassment, he sat up quickly and stammered, I am so sorry. I didn't mean. But Elnor interrupted him with a calm voice. It's fine. You did it to protect me, right? This is the first time a man has ever been that bold with me. But thank you. I understand your intent, so there's no need to apologize. Her words made Dodd blush, even harder from sheer embarrassment, because she had completely misunderstood him. The truth? Dodd only dove at her to leech off the barrier's protection. But Elnor had no idea what he was really thinking. She sat up, fixed her hair, and turned toward him. What's your name? From the protagonist's point of view, that simple question gave Dodd a strange feeling of unease. If I answer, he thought, there's a good chance I'll keep running into her in the future. So, what should I say? If I tell her, what is she going to do with that? Still, after a moment's hesitation, Dodd finally replied, Dodd Campbell. Elnor nodded. Got it. I won't forget this. I'll repay you one day. The moment she said that, a system notification popped up in front of Dodd. System notice. You've attracted the attention of a villain. A hidden condition has been fulfilled. You have obtained right pointing arrow skill, survival instinct, desperation. Right pointing arrow skill, fatal charisma. Dodd stared at the message, his face going blank with disbelief. Time passed quickly. Soon after, a team of doctors and medics arrived at the scene of the crash to treat the wounded. Apparently, because the train was bound for Elefante, emergency protocols had been top tier. Thanks to that, casualties were minimal. After a round of medical checks, those who were uninjured were cleared to proceed on their way. After that, Dodd boarded a carriage to continue his journey. During the ride, he took the opportunity to check the system notifications regarding his newly acquired special gifts. First gift, intertwined fate. The more attention you receive from individuals with malevolent traits, the more rewards you will gain. This system notification made Dodd stroke his chin thoughtfully. No wonder I couldn't figure out how to trigger this back in Campbell. What evil traits? That place was basically paradise. Even finding a neutral person there was hard. No wonder this gift never activated. Maybe I should check what I just received. Unable to suppress his curiosity any longer, Dodd quickly pulled up the details of the rewards he had gained. Skill 1. Desperate Survival. Rank: Unknown. Right-pointing arrow. Your stats will increase when you are in life-threatening situations. Right-pointing arrow. The more dangerous the situation, the greater the boost. Skill 2. Fatal Charisma. Rank: Unknown. Right-pointing arrow attracts the attention of characters with malevolent traits. Right-pointing arrow. The more extreme the situation, the stronger the effect. Looking at these two skills, Dodd felt incredibly conflicted. A strange mix of relief and dread. Desperate Survival was definitely useful for combat and surviving critical moments. But Fatal Charisma? Seriously? Do I really want that? He recalled the kind of characters in the game who possessed malevolent traits. A berserker who went insane from endless battles. A sword god who slaughtered anything within a 3-step radius. A paid assassin who killed indiscriminately for coin. A magical prodigy who had lost all sense of empathy. What a nightmare lineup. But whatever. What matters is I now have something that helps me stay alive. What bothered him most was the skill rank listed as unknown. Even as an SR tier veteran, I've never seen something like that before. What does that even mean? Across from him, the doctor sitting in the carriage noticed how Dodd's expression kept changing erratically. Looking concerned, the doctor asked, "Are you all right, young man? Should I perform another psychological evaluation?" "Ah, no, I'm fine," Dodd quickly replied. Time passed quickly. Eventually, the carriage arrived at its destination. Elefante Academy. Scene transition. A large square inside the academy grounds. A voice, presumably from one of the professors, rang out as the new students gathered. "Despite the unfortunate accident, I thank all of you for arriving safely. This year's freshman class is truly exceptional." Back to Dodd. He wasn't paying attention to the professor at all. His mind was still replaying the conversation he had earlier in the carriage with the doctor. At that time, the doctor had asked him, "You're the son of an unknown viscount, right? No connections to speak of? I used to be a student at Elefante too. And I also came from a nameless noble family. The Tristan territory has a lot of enemies." The doctor had warned him earlier. "It's best if you stay away from her from now on. If you keep getting involved with high-ranking nobles like her, you're bound to get into serious trouble." "I'll keep that in mind," Dodd replied. Right after that, the system displayed a new notification related to Elnor. System notice. Only 2 days left until Phase 1 of the Trust event begins. Just thinking about it made Dodd let out a long, miserable sigh. "You've got to be kidding me. Whether I like it or not, I'm already entangled with her now." In this academy, gossip and slander were part of daily life. But none of that mattered compared to the fact that Elnor was a candidate for final boss. Just standing near her was practically signing your own death sentence. But before Dodd could think further, a loud voice suddenly rang out from the front. "Dodd Campbell, you bastard. Why the hell are you spacing out?" Startled, Dodd snapped out of his thoughts and turned toward the source of the voice. A group of students nearby were already snickering at him. "Hey, look at that bumpkin. Everyone else already got paired up for the match. You're the only one left. Your opponent was automatically assigned." A brown-haired student pointed at Dodd. While grinning, realizing what was happening, Dodd hurried down toward the field, silently cursing himself. That's right. The practical combat test starts right after orientation. As he rushed in, he scratched his head and asked, "Sorry, who am I paired with?" Dodd spoke calmly on the outside, but inside, he was panicking. He understood the implication. If everyone else had already picked, then his opponent was likely someone powerful. And sure enough, a girl with bright orange hair stepped forward, extended a hand, and smiled. "Hi there, need a hand?" Her face was beautiful, her smile radiant, but Dodd couldn't smile back, because he realized this girl was the AI, the greatest prodigy in the world, the future savior of humanity. She was the main protagonist of Savior Rising. In that moment, Dodd could only reach out his hand to her, eyes brimming with despair. "I'm doomed, aren't I?" he thought to himself. Time passed. Scene transition. A professor's office inside the academy. Several colleagues were gathered, muttering complaints. The Count of Critan just arrived. And so did Marquis Galantier. So where the hell is Lady Tristan? Not to mention the rest of the nobles. One female professor in particular was clearly distressed. Is she out of her mind? The preliminary duel rounds are already underway. How can she be this late? Just as she was thinking that, as if the universe had heard her complaint, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed in the corridor. Everyone turned their eyes toward the source of the sound. And there she was, Elnor. Her entire body was covered in blood, staggering slowly toward them. Her appearance at that moment startled everyone present. Meanwhile, the female professor immediately spoke up to question her. I have a lot of questions for you. Where the hell have you been? In response, Elnor answered calmly. I was busy handling a little issue. But just by looking at her appearance, it was clear that little issue wasn't little at all. The professor let out a long sigh and scanned the room. She signaled to her colleagues. Sorry, but I need to deal with something with her first. After everyone had exited the room, the professor asked quietly, did anyone die? Not too many. Maybe around 12. Elnor shrugged and added, they were there as part of a plan to assassinate me. They rolled a huge boulder toward the academy train, trying to make it look like an accident. I found out who they were. And since I happened to be nearby, I took care of them right away. Upon hearing this, the professor advised, you should have let the academy handle it. But before she could finish, Elnor turned to her and interrupted. Are you expecting me to be fair and perfect to everyone? Even to people who are trying to kill me? Facing her, the professor saw the resolute look in Elnor's eyes and stopped trying to argue. All right then, but at least go get changed first. The duel qualifiers are still ongoing. If you leave now, you'll run into Elia, the once-in-a-millennium prodigy. Elia Crixanax and Dodd Campbell. What the hell? The professor stumbled over the names, unable to pronounce the main character's name correctly. Still, the name sounded familiar to Dodd. Then, suddenly, the professor blurted out, Dodd Campbell. Hearing that, the professor turned in surprise and asked, yes, that's him. How do you know that boy? He doesn't seem remarkable in any way. For Elnor, images of the protagonist flashed through her mind. His awkward demeanor. And without realizing it, she smiled softly and whispered, that boy is quite unusual. Back to Daud's side. He was trembling, gripping a wooden sword in his hand. As others looked at his shaking figure, they began to shout and mock him. Go for it, you pumpkin hick. Let's see how many moves he can pull off. Moves? He's lucky if he walks away without a scratch. Dodd ignored the comments. He was fully aware of just how desperate his situation was. With my pathetic stats, if I get hit by her, I might not survive at all. So maybe, this might actually work to my advantage. It's clearly a dangerous situation, right? But I've got nothing left to lose. One thing I'm sure of. The villain I'll eventually have to face is likely among these people. Even if I don't die, at the very least, I'll attract their attention. With my information advantage, and these pitiful stats, maybe, just maybe, I'll survive. Dodd whispered to himself internally. Meanwhile, on the other side, Elia watched him. She saw his tense expression, the sweat pouring non-stop, and his anxious demeanor. Hey, be honest with me, she said. You're actually super weak, aren't you? I knew it. I was about to beat you senseless just now. But seeing you like this, maybe I'll let it go. Hearing that, Dodd couldn't help but ask, beat me senseless? Why would you do that? In response, Elia's face turned slightly annoyed. You're the guy who was with that Elnor girl, right? I hate her. And not just her. I hate the entire Tristan family. They're all monsters. Back to Dodd's perspective. At this point, he fully understood. She really had the guts to say all that, though she didn't spell it out. In the original storyline, she had openly opposed the Tristan family in many ways. He thought to himself, so that's what this is about. All that family drama. Then he tried to explain. I just happened to be in the same place with her. That's all. But Elia didn't accept that. Still, you remind me of her damn face. And that pisses me off. So I'm gonna hurt you. But hey, how about we pretend to fight? Hearing that, our protagonist could only sigh bitterly. Honestly, that's kind of tempting. But if he didn't power up in the next 2 days, his life would seriously be in danger. The only way to survive was to catch the attention of everyone watching right now. Thinking that, even though he was scared out of his mind, Dodd still tried to steady his trembling body and forced himself to say, fine, I'll go all out and fight you. To be honest, I kind of like her. The moment those words left his mouth, Elia's expression darkened. The air around her seemed to shift. She gripped her wooden sword tightly and asked in a cold voice, "You mean that?" "Of course I do," Dodd replied without hesitation. "But if I truly want you to fight seriously, this is the only way." Inside, Dodd screamed in his heart. "Just like how much you hate her. That's how serious I am." At that exact moment, a system notification popped up, alerting the protagonist. "Deadly charm activated. You've become increasingly attractive to villains. A new reward has been added to your gift bar." Back on Elia's side, after hearing what Dodd said, she clearly had no intention of holding back anymore. "If that's the case, I won't regret it," she said coldly. With that, she pushed off the ground with both feet and dashed forward, fast as an arrow slicing through the wind. At the same time, she drew her sword back and unleashed a blinding slash. With that speed, the attack instantly sliced the tip of Dodd's wooden sword clean in half. Luckily, he had kept his eyes wide open, carefully tracking Elia's movements. That was the only reason. He managed to barely tilt his head back and dodge the blow by a hair's breadth. Even so, Dodd couldn't hide the panic on his face. Still, the fact that he was able to dodge the attack left Elia a little surprised. "Oh, you dodged that? Maybe you're not as weak as I thought. All right then, I'll go a little harder on you." With that, the sword-wielding Elia shifted back into her combat stance. This time, she was clearly serious. Just the way she held her sword was enough to make Dodd's hair stand on end. A barrage of bright red system alerts flashed before his eyes. Dangerous situation detected. Threat level: non-lethal but high. Desperation survival mode, rank S, activated. As soon as the notification appeared, Dodd felt a surge of invisible power rushing through his body. Then, as if by pure instinct, his body moved on its own. He threw a punch straight ahead, and by complete coincidence, his fist struck Elia right in the face. With a rank S level punch, the highest possible rank, Elia's body was launched like a cannonball backwards, slamming into the wall behind her with such force that it caused a massive explosion. Everyone, including Dodd himself, and all the new students watching, were left wide-eyed, jaws dropped in shock. Dodd Campbell, with all his stats stuck at rock bottom, on his very first day at Elefante Academy, had just managed to defeat the main character of this world. As a direct result of this incident, the professors of the academy were forced to hold an emergency meeting. During the meeting, a green-haired professor spoke up. "Possibility number 1. This kid Dodd has been hiding his true abilities." Upon hearing that, a teasing voice chimed in. "Well, that's a fast change of opinion from you." But Professor Conrad wasn't offended. He calmly replied, "Either way, this doesn't make any sense. Everyone here is smart enough to realize that before the duel, that kid had zero combat skills and no strength whatsoever. But that punch, that really hit hard." "What do you mean by hit hard, exactly?" another professor on the opposite side asked. Speaking of this, Professor Conrad fell silent for 2 seconds before elaborating. "What I mean is, not just Elia Crixanax. No one could have walked away unharmed after taking a hit like that. At first, I would have said his chances of defeating a future warrior like Elia were zero. But somehow, whether it was through illegal enhancers or hidden tools, he temporarily boosted his strength. The only other explanation is that he's a genuine prodigy." His words left the rest of the professors in stunned silence. No one said a word. After nearly 10 seconds, a beautiful female professor with blue hair adjusted her glasses, shook her head slightly, and added, "Still, his victory is hard to accept. Margrave Kendrid, Elia's sponsor, is not going to stay quiet about this. But if we turn a blind eye to a student with such incredible potential, it would be a huge loss for the academy. Soon enough, we'll know whether he's a fraud or not. So, let's wait and see how things unfold." Her words left the green-haired Professor Conrad visibly confused. "What exactly do you mean by that?" he asked. The female professor calmly explained. "This year's freshmen are unusual. Some are so unique that we'll need to treat them with special attention. If this student really is as exceptional as you say, I'm sure he'll carve out a place for himself among this year's incoming class." And just like that, the fact that Dodd had defeated Elia in a single blow spread like wildfire. It even made the headlines. Everyone's attention was now focused entirely on one name. Dodd Campbell. Who exactly is he? Maybe he's the son of the Imperial Knight Commander? Or maybe he's the greatest talent the Academy has ever seen? The rising star of Margrave Kindred shocked everyone after suffering defeat on day one. Reading the paper in his hand, Dodd let out a long sigh. Like a man on the brink of death. They're really taking this seriously. Both here and in the game world. With that, he tossed the newspaper aside and checked the latest system notifications. Character information update. Elnor Elinorize LA Tristan. Trust level increased to trust level 2. Reward unlocked. Character event D. Viscount Lupin. Curiosity level 1. Plus 50 points. Viscount Garand. Interest level 3. Plus 140 points. Looking over the notifications, Dodd quickly put the pieces together. So it goes from curiosity to interest, and then eventually to trust. And he could use the points he earned in the systems shop. The character with the highest curiosity level? Elnor. But why? Why is the final boss someone who shouldn't even be remotely interested in me? So interested in me? Though Dodd groaned and complained internally, he still quickly accepted the reward. Reward received. Gift from Elnor. Skill unlocked. Tristan family sword technique. It was far better than he expected. So much so that Dodd's eyes widened in shock. The Tristan family, famous for their swordsmanship. Huh? Let's see. But then he remembered. They're tied to the demon clan. Ah, screw it. Whatever. He muttered dismissively. Right after that, he noticed Elia now had a curiosity level 4 toward him. However, he couldn't claim the reward from her just yet. Why am I even surrounded by people like them? Rewards are supposed to come from villains with positive interest in me, right? She's not a villain, and her interest definitely isn't positive. Just as he was thinking that, before he could research further or strategize, a sudden knock on the door startled him. Then came a familiar voice. Is this Dodd Campbell's room? It's me, Elia Crixanax. Can I come in? From Dodd's point of view, he had sworn to himself that he wouldn't get involved with main characters or villains. So when he saw the female protagonist approaching him like this, his face turned pale. He clenched his lips tightly and thought, why the hell is she here? If I stay quiet, maybe she'll just leave, right? Outside the door, as if she could read his mind, Elia called out again. Hey, I know you're in there. If you don't answer, I'll break this door down. Her threat made Dodd snap in frustration. Are you insane? Hearing him respond, Elia softened her voice. Oh, so you are in there. Can you open the door? I just want to talk. Talk about what exactly? Dodd replied awkwardly. Just stuff, so we can understand each other better. Elia answered. Time passed quickly. Elia, the sword-wielding girl, paced back and forth in the hallway, sighing in frustration. He should have just said yes. Why's he being so tense? What's wrong with him? She frowned slightly, muttering to herself. I really don't know how to make friends with guys. Still lost in thought, she accidentally bumped into someone, causing the food bag the other person was carrying to fall to the ground. Watch where you're going, the person said. Flustered, Elia quickly bent down to pick up the bag. But when she looked up and saw who it was, her whole body froze. It was Elnor. In her mind, Elia suddenly pictured a blonde-haired boy standing in the middle of a sea of flames, urging her to run away. Looking at Elnor, Elia couldn't help but tremble. Her hand, gripping the food bag, tightened so hard that veins popped along her wrist. I'm fine, Elia murmured hesitantly, slowly relaxing the hand that had instinctively gripped the hilt of her sword. I grabbed my sword out of reflex. She thought anxiously, secretly watching Elnor. Can I even beat her in my current state? Elnor Tristan. Surely, she saw my hand on the sword. So why didn't she react? Was this her way of saying she didn't even need to respond? As expected, Elnor didn't seem to care. Instead, she calmly extended her hand. Give that back. Elia's trembling hands returned the food bag. At the same time, Elia couldn't help but wonder to herself, how on earth is Dodd involved with someone like her? After handing it over, the two of them passed each other in silence. As she walked away, Elia casually commented, take a right down this hallway. That's where Dodd Campbell's room is. Behind her, Elnor suddenly stopped and asked, wait, how do you know where his room is? Elia looked a little surprised. then replied nonchalantly, I've been with him this whole time. Isn't that obvious? Her answer caused Elnore's expression to darken slightly. And why? That abrupt shift in tone made Elia blink in confusion. Why is she acting so hostile all of a sudden? Scratching her head, Elia replied awkwardly, to make friends, I guess? Among the new students, he's the only one I thought of befriending. But before she could say anything else, Elnor glared at her and coldly warned, freshmen aren't allowed to socialize with other students. There's a curfew. Huh? What kind of rule is that? Elia blurted out, clearly puzzled. But before she could finish the sentence, Elnore's eyes flashed red, as she calmly declared, I just made that rule. So from now on, you're not allowed near his room again. Her authoritative tone left no room for negotiation. Elia, now suspicious, felt something strange was going on. She narrowed her eyes slightly and asked, sorry, but what exactly is your relationship with him? The student council president turned her back and began walking away. He's nothing to me, Elnor replied calmly. But remember what I said, clearly. Back in Elia's thoughts, the more Elnor spoke, the more suspicious she became. There's definitely something going on between those two. Even if it's just to gather information, I should still keep trying to befriend him. Time passed quickly. Scene transition to a massive structure. Today, countless new students had gathered there. It was the day of Elefante Academy's class cooperation exam. This exam was designed to thoroughly assess every aspect of a student. The students would be divided into teams, following a series of one-on-one duels. And because I took down that warrior candidate, I've been placed into the highest ranked team. Everyone around looked proud and confident. But I was the only one feeling nervous. The biggest problem? That girl. I already rejected her yesterday. Yet now she's on the same team as me. Just great. Dodd glanced at the system panel beside him. At that moment, Elia's curiosity level toward him had reached level 5. But he still couldn't claim any rewards yet. Curiosity nearing transformation into interest. A special event may trigger when interest changes. Looking at this, Dodd could only flash a dumb grin. Huh? She's becoming more interested in me again. What the hell is going on? Come to think of it, that letter and food last night. Someone's been watching me, haven't they? Why are all these things happening to me? Sigh. Whatever. Focus on the exam. This time, nothing crazy should happen, right? It's part of the main storyline. After all, at the front of the group, Elnor, the student council president, stood with arms crossed and addressed everyone. Welcome, everyone. I'm Elnor, the one in charge of this exam. Her appearance made Dodd visibly flinch. What? No way. This can't be a coincidence. Sure, Elnore's event was supposed to happen today. But she's actually supervising our group? If nothing dramatic happens during this exam, that would be the real surprise. So why was Elnor put in charge of Dodd's group? The strongest one? Well, it was Dodd's fault. In the faculty meeting the day before, the professors had reached a conclusion. If Dodd really is a genius, capable of defeating a warrior candidate, then I'm very interested in seeing how he performs. In the cooperation exam, let the student council president oversee his group, just in case. Back to the present, Elnor turned and instructed. First, head over to the testing area. We'll give you the task after you get there. And with that, the entire group began making their way into the examination building. However, they hadn't gone far when the hallway suddenly went pitch black. Whoa, this place looks so cool. The lights just went out. Who did that? Someone shouted. Startled, hearing this, Elia instinctively turned to look at Elnor, who was right next to her. You said we'd get our task once we arrived here, right? So, is this part of the test too? Hearing the question, Elnor remained silent. She simply looked around the dark corridor. Expression unreadable. As for Dodd, he was the one who understood the situation most clearly. Because the system had just sent him a notification. Event. Elnor assassination attempt, now active. Surviving assassins are targeting her. Protect the target. Seeing the alert, Dodd let out a long, weary sigh. This isn't an exam anymore. This is a trap. A few students ahead began whispering nervously to each other. They'll handle it, right? Let's just keep moving. Who knows what could happen in here? Back to Dodd. He scanned the area carefully and suddenly realized something. Wait a second? Looking again. Aren't these all characters from the protagonist's original party? If he remembered correctly, this was the place where they all first met each other in the original storyline. That means everyone in this room is going to be important to the plot. A spark of insight flashed through his mind. Dodd pointed toward the map, engraved on the nearby wall, and spoke up. I think heading to the central hall would be the best move. There'll likely be supplies and equipment there. More importantly, it's a wide open space, much better for defending against ambushes than these narrow hallways. You all felt it too, right? Council President Elia, we're not the only ones here. He then gestured toward a different direction. I'll be heading over that way. Elia blinked, confused. Huh? Why? Because it's necessary, Dodd replied simply. Still puzzled, Elia warned. That path leads away from the central hall. You know? Dodd answered with a serious expression. I can't say right now. But this is important. I'll explain everything later. It's true, it is important. He thought to himself. What could be more important than saving my own life? And so, even though they didn't fully understand his intentions, the group decided to split. Elnore's team proceeded toward the central hall, while Dodd slipped off through an entirely different route. Alone in the quiet corridor, Dodd exhaled in relief. All right, I did it. Looks like taking down Elia really made my words more convincing. Now I just need to hide until the event ends. Well, the target of this assassination is Elnor, so there's no way they'll be paying attention to me. All I have to do is find a quiet corner, stay silent, and wait for this to blow over. That was what Dodd thought. But of course, if things always went according to his plan, there'd be no fun in any of this. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. I'm here to fix the electrical systems. Mind showing me the way? My vision's not too good in the dark. Hearing that, Dodd glanced sideways at the stranger. And just as he did, the system flashed a warning. Dangerous situation detected. Meanwhile, Elnore's team had already reached the large central hall. At this point, every freshman in the group could feel a strange, murderous pressure lurking in the shadows. A girl dressed like a nun spoke up nervously. Elia, do you think Dodd will be okay on his own? What if something happens to him? In response, Elia confidently replied, whatever he's planning, he must have accounted for everything already. Besides, it looks like we're the ones about to run into trouble soon. Back with Dodd, he continued walking, the strange man following close behind. As they moved, the assassin began thinking to himself. The vanguard was wiped out by that damned demon woman already. But that would have never happened if we were there. Even this guy, he fell for my trick so easily. A professional assassin like me can judge someone's level just from their movements, and this one's clearly a rookie. I'll toy with him a bit before I kill him. Then I'll take his body and go eliminate Lady Tristan. With that, the assassin dropped the act. He tore off his disguise, revealing an entirely different face beneath. Then, pulling out a short, razor-sharp sword, he sneered coldly at Dodd. You did well, so let me give you your reward. From Dodd's perspective, upon seeing the man's true face, he actually let out a sigh of relief. All the tension seemed to melt away from his shoulders. Thank the heavens, just as I thought. It's you, Hazmed. If it had been someone stronger, I might have been in real danger. Seriously? I'm so relieved right now. The way you walk, your sinus issues. Yeah, it's definitely you. Just like I remembered. Let's see. Desperate survival, rank is now at grade A. He noted mentally. On the other side, Hazmed, the assassin, was completely thrown off by how calm Dodd was. What the hell is he talking about? Is he mocking me? I'm speechless. Still, he told himself, whatever, he's just a weakling. I'll finish him off right now. And with that thought, he lunged into action, wasting not a single moment. The assassin charged forward at full speed. Meanwhile, Dodd tightened his grip around a wooden staff. And thus, the battle between the two officially began. Scene shift to Elnore's group. At this moment, their battle with the assassins had already broken out. Or more accurately, they were beating the assassins to a pulp. Bodies of assassins were being hurled into walls. Magic, swordplay, incantations, all kinds of techniques were flying across the battlefield. The air was filled with cries of pain and groans as the assassins struggled helplessly against the overwhelming power of the student team. These guys are weaker than I expected, a red-haired student commented casually. On the other side, Elia, the sword-wielding girl, barked an order. PALCAS, Freeze them in place. As she gave orders, she also glanced over at Elnor, who, with just a single swing of her sword, sent 4 assassins flying into the wall ahead. The impact was so strong that each collision left a massive crack in the stone. Without slowing down, Elnor drove her sword straight into the arm of another assassin and began to interrogate him. Besides you lot, was anyone else sent for this mission? If you don't answer, I'll snap your neck. As she spoke, she twisted the blade inside his arm, tearing the wound wider. The assassin let out a blood-curdling scream. Unable to bear the pain, he gave in and started confessing everything. After listening, Elnor narrowed her eyes and asked again. You said, Hazmed from the Crescent Order? Is he in the building or just nearby? But the assassin, still defiant, sneered back. I can't tell you that. The moment the words left his mouth, Elnor raised her foot and stomped his face deep into the floor. You're here, aren't you? She muttered coldly. Beneath her, the assassin felt like his skull was about to shatter. Out of options, he gave in and ratted Hazmed out. He came with us. He's in the back. Elia, watching the brutal scene, couldn't help but ask, what made you go that far? Turning around slowly, Elnor replied with icy calm. They tried to kill me. And Hazmed from the Crescent Order is an assassin who can take on the appearance of others by murdering them. Now tell me, who do you think is the easiest target for him to impersonate in this building? Upon hearing that, a name immediately popped into Elia's mind, and she turned sharply to ask, could it be Dodd? Did he use himself as bait to lure out the strongest assassin? They were after her. Why would he go so far? What's his relationship with her? Before Elia could finish, Elnor cut her off coldly. I already told you. There's nothing between us. At least, not that I know of. Back to Dodd's battle with Hazmed. The assassin's inner thoughts flashed rapidly through his mind. I'm a professional killer. Spiritual guardians are supposed to deflect slashes. They only react to weapons. So why is it here, in a place like this? Well, this school is ancient and mysterious. So maybe that makes sense. No matter. An assassin is a weapon unto himself. Still, why the hell is this happening to me? At this point, Hazmed's condition was no better than that of his fellow assassins. Dodd, wielding only a wooden staff, had already beaten him to the point of coughing up blood. The protagonist's blows came at lightning speed, so fast that Hazmed couldn't even react. Before taking hit after hit, one after another. Just then, a system notification appeared for Dodd. You have successfully used sword skill. Tristan's sword technique mastery increased. Seeing this, Dodd paused briefly to catch his breath. Meanwhile, Hazmed sat slumped against a wall, blood dripping from his mouth. He finally understood why Dodd was so strong. That's the Tristan sword technique? I should have known not to mess with him from the start. Bitterly, he muttered. So you're the one who lured me into this trap. Who are you? The sudden question left Dodd visibly dumbfounded, because in truth, he didn't have any kind of grand plan. He just wanted to sneak away, to avoid being dragged into the main fight. In fact, the only reason the assassin misunderstood the situation was because of Dodd's critical charisma ability. Critical charisma activated. The villain is astonished by your calculated strategy. Thanks to the game system, Hazmed couldn't use weapons in a safe zone, which was why Dodd had lured him here. Completely by accident. Hazmed sighed. So, you won't answer me? Huh? Then just kill me already. He said it calmly, as if death didn't scare him anymore. But contrary to Hazmed's expectations, Dodd didn't intend to finish him off. I'm not going to kill you. Instead, pass along a message. Tell your people, don't ever go near Lady Tristan again. Let them know that even a top-tier assassin like you barely made it out alive. Even as he spoke, Dodd had already calculated this move in his head. I don't know who gave the order, but there's a high chance they'll strike again. And if that happens, the likelihood of Elnore's Grey Demon being released will skyrocket. So we have to stop it before it even starts. Across from him, Dodd's request made Hazmed smirk mockingly. And what if I do come back after all this? Dodd replied, his voice steady and serious. Then try me, because next time, I'll protect her again. Hearing that, Hazmed narrowed his eyes. So Lady Tristan, she really matters that much to you? Let's just say she does. Dodd replied calmly. Right after those words left his mouth, a wave of system notifications appeared. Critical resolve activated. Villain affection level skyrocketing exponentially. Sensing something behind him, Dodd quickly turned, and sure enough, Elnor was standing there, having heard everything. Time passed quickly. The next morning, Elnore's best friend was collapsed over her desk, utterly exhausted, drowning in a mountain of documents and paperwork. This is a mess. Now I understand why the Prime Minister's losing his mind. And now you want me to go hunt down the mastermind? I've already got a mountain of crap to deal with here. The Academy is in total chaos. But based on the timeline during the assassination attempt, we've confirmed there's a spy inside. Elnor, I know, political sabotage is nothing new for you. But this was the second assassination attempt. Whoever's behind this, they're serious. This time, though, it's different. Whoever's pulling the strings will definitely make another move. All the people who were around you have been commended. No injuries. Complete victory. But there's one issue. Dodd Campbell. He's the only one who didn't get any recognition. There's no reason for that to happen. It's like he's deliberately avoiding the Academy's attention. Hearing that, Elnor just stared blankly and replied, I don't know. Her vague answer made her friend frown in frustration. If you say, I don't know, one more time, I will punch you. Go ahead, Elnor said indifferently. Her calm reply made her friend's eyes twitch in rage. Without hesitation, she grabbed an ink bottle and hurled it straight at Elnor. What the hell is wrong with you? Effortlessly, Elnor reached out and caught the bottle midair. She looked up and asked, What do you mean by that? Her friend let out a deep sigh and explained, You've been dazed all day. Why can't you focus on anything? I don't know why, but if you won't talk, then I'm not helping you anymore. Her friend warned bluntly. Back to Elnor, she decided not to hide anything anymore. So she spoke up directly. I think I'm starting to feel interested in someone. Hearing that, the secretary's hand froze mid-motion. Her eyes widened in shock. Wait, what did you just say? I said, I think I'm becoming interested in someone. The person you just mentioned. At that moment, a faint blush appeared on Elnore's face. Her assistant cautiously followed up. You mean Dodd Campbell, right? Elnor said nothing. Silence filled the room, an awkward, heavy stillness between the two. A second later, her best friend finally snapped out of it, lifting a trembling finger like she had just heard. Dinosaurs had come back to life. Hold up, are you saying you've fallen for that country bumpkin? I didn't say I like him. Elnor clarified quickly, but her friend didn't buy it. Not one bit. You're telling me you're not smitten, but I don't buy it for a second. What would the Grand Duke Tristan say if he heard this? In response, Elnor calmly placed the ink bottle back on the table and added, That old man would definitely blow a fuse. And no, I am not head over heels for him. Not in the slightest. Huh? The assistant muttered to herself and scratched her head. Well, regardless of what this is, he's been treating you well, hasn't he? Normally, you'd be suspicious right away. As a Tristan, you should be more cautious. Elnor nodded in agreement. You're right. That's why I need to verify him. Just observe him carefully. As she said that, she stared intently at a photo of Dodd on the table. Back to the protagonist. Dodd lay on his bed, blankly staring at a notification letter in his hand, still trying to make sense of everything. The letter read, Unfortunately, we are currently unable to determine which class archetype Dodd Campbell belongs to. The research team is conducting a project to find the optimal match. You can look forward to good news in the future. Reading that, Dodd could only groan in frustration. What good news? Just throw me into some random existing class and forget about me already. But no, if we go by the rules, shouldn't I be placed in a special class? Like Elia's squad? So why the hell did they exclude me? Thinking that far, Dodd suddenly sat up and checked his system notifications. Main quest 1 complete. Information updated. Main quest. Resolve the incident that occurred during the freshman welcoming ceremony. Rewards. 3 exclusive equipment material sets. The follow-up quest from the system gave Dodd a moment of thought. He slowly recalled the details he knew about this event. The freshman ceremony. That's where the player's class archetype is officially determined. Archer, warrior, mage, priest, and so on. The specialized class you receive depends on what you focused on most. Just like Elia, who uses swords. I'm building my character around strength. With that path, he would receive class-specific equipment materials that matched that build. Thinking this through, Dodd tapped the screen. The system interface shifted to show relationship data with Elnor and Elia. ELNORE's trust level toward you has increased from level 2 to level 5. Status: affectionate, temporary. A special reward is available. This is a notable character. Upon entering affectionate status, a special event will trigger. Time until event meeting: 3 days. Elia's interest level has also reached level 5, nearing the threshold of affection. This is also a notable character. Time until event meeting: 3 days. Looking at how fast the interest of key characters was growing, Dodd could only rub his face in distress. The real problem is the final boss. Main characters, main quests, and events all piling in at once. Something big is definitely coming. As if to console his fragile gamer soul, the system then issued a new reward. You have received a gift from Elnor. Skill unlocked: Mimic. You can copy one skill from a selected target. Reading that, Dodd's annoyance instantly vanished. His eyes widened like a cow's, double-checking just in case he read wrong. What is this? Copy someone's skill? That's insane. That means I can copy the final boss's skills. But using it now would be a total waste. Even though Elnor is at the top of the food chain within the academy right now. Just like Elia, she's a final boss-type character who will continue to grow. She'll eventually gain all kinds of absurdly overpowered skills. So there's absolutely no reason to use Mimic right now. For now, he would focus on preparing for the event happening in 3 days. Thankfully, I already know something that might help me survive. Thinking this, a gleam sparked in Dodd's eyes. Time passed quickly until nightfall. Scene transition to the old equipment storage warehouse. At this moment, Dodd was wearing a black outfit with a half mask covering his face. At the moment, Dodd was using a low-tier agility potion, a shadow mask that boosts agility, silent step boots for quieter movement. All these items came from the point shop. As his body began to feel light and agile, he nodded in satisfaction. Using the point shop really is a blessing. After bypassing several security measures, he finally arrived at the rumored grind zone, the treasure vault of every free-to-play player in the SL Nation. He slowly crept up to the storage building, scaled the wall, and jumped inside. While moving, he also popped a stamina recovery biscuit, which, just like the ad said, boosted his regeneration rate dramatically. For once, the marketing wasn't a lie. Alright, time to dig, Dodd muttered as he rushed in to scavenge. Inside, piles of old gear were stacked in front of him. He munched on the biscuit, while carefully examining each item one by one. I found everything else, but not the most important piece yet. Eventually, he pulled out a box. And there it was. Exactly what he'd been looking for. A golden censer. There it is, the divine incense burner. A relic said to contain the power of ancient divinity sealed for thousands of years. Perfect. I finally have everything I need. Excited, Dodd reached forward to pull the censer free. But of course, nothing ever goes smoothly for him. Though small, the censer had been structurally supporting the entire stack of junk above it. The moment it was removed, the whole tower began wobbling. And then, inevitably, crash, all the old gear came tumbling down, sending a massive cloud of dust throughout the storage room. And somehow, when the dust finally cleared, Dodd found himself holding a beautiful girl with long, silky black hair. But the protagonist had no time to admire her beauty, because he immediately realized who she was. Yuria Greyhoundsher, the Chapter 2 mini-boss, aka the Cursed Sword Goddess. Apparently, the relic he just picked up belonged to her, which explained why she always hung around this place. Thinking about this, cold sweat trickled down Dodd's face. Suddenly, Yuria's body emitted a flash of light, and in an instant, she slipped from Dodd's arms. At the same time, a series of blood-red system notifications popped up. Dangerous situation detected. Lethal threat level confirmed. Desperation survival, rank S, activated. Confronted with this, Dodd could only stammer, sorry for waking you up." But before he could finish, Yuria had already appeared behind him. With a flick of her hand, she swung a chain attached to the sword in her grip, straight toward him. The chain shot straight toward Dodd, slicing through the air with a shrill whoosh. With just that single swing, the sword shredded through an entire stack of wooden crates in front of him. Dodd, in full panic, had to fling his body backward to narrowly dodge the attack. Every time Yuria struck, it was like a storm of overwhelming power. So fast, so precise, that every hair on Dodd's body stood on end. Faced with such relentless fury, our protagonist had no choice but to run for his life like a headless chicken. Even if he wanted to fight back, he couldn't even get close. Yuria's range was absurdly long. Any counterattack was simply impossible. Last time was just a duel with Elia. This time, it's life or death. Even with my rare grade stats, my body still hurts when I get hit. Realizing this, Dodd knew he couldn't keep running forever. To protect his own sorry life, he raised both hands and pleaded, "Wait, you've got it wrong. I'm not here to do anything. Please." But Yuria wasn't listening. She kept swinging the chained sword around, like a machine in berserk mode. Her blade gouged deep scars into the floor, shredding it into rubble. Meanwhile, Dodd danced frantically, just inches away from death, barely avoiding the sword's reach with each leap. But no matter how agile he was, everything has a limit. Yuria slowly forced him into a tight corner. Then, she hurled her sword forward, like a missile, aimed straight at Dodd's face. But right before it made contact, something strange happened. The sword abruptly froze midair, unable to move an inch closer. With a frustrated sigh, Yuria yanked it back to her hand. The truth was, Dodd had already planned for this. He knew exactly how to avoid being sliced into tiny Dodd pieces. All thanks to one thing: Yuria's curse. Anyone who steps within 3.5 steps of her is instantly executed. But in exchange, she is physically unable to move closer than that distance. That's the curse's core mechanic. Now, Yuria pointed her sword at him and whispered softly, "Would you mind taking one step forward?" Across from her, Dodd instantly understood what she was trying to do. "Why? So you can kill me?" "Exactly," Yuria replied nonchalantly. Dodd looked into her determined eyes and nearly peed his pants. Is there seriously no way out of this? Just as Dodd was thinking about how to escape, suddenly, a strange gurgling noise came from Yuria's stomach. Grrrl. Her face instantly flushed red with embarrassment. But to Dodd, that sound was more than just awkward. It was an opportunity. Wait a second, this is her territory. She's isolated herself here. Even the teachers rarely come by. That means, realizing this, Dodd spoke up carefully. "Hey, do you want something to eat?" As he said that, he pulled out some of his stamina recovery biscuits, offering them forward as bait. But Yuria wasn't an easy catch. She narrowed her eyes, clearly annoyed. "Do you seriously think you can lure me with food? I won't fall for that." Back on Dodd's side, he didn't bother arguing. Instead, he simply tossed one biscuit forward. And without even thinking, Yuria's body moved on its own, mouth snapping it out of the air, like a hungry puppy. Realizing what she'd just done, her face turned even redder. That was a mistake," she mumbled. But Dodd wasn't even surprised. Of course she's hungry. You can't reason with someone who hasn't eaten. Once she had eaten her fill, Dodd finally let out a sigh of relief. "Phew, I really thought I was going to die just now." Behind him, Yuria, now nibbling another biscuit, asked, "So, who are you? Why are you here?" Naturally, Dodd couldn't exactly say, "Oh, I came here to steal." So his brain went into high-speed fabrication mode. "I was sent to give you food. Someone asked me to check on you." "Someone I know?" Yuria tilted her head, her gaze suspicious but curious. Dodd quickly weighed his options. This might actually work out later. No way I should have met her this early in the game timeline. With that, he leaned into his role. "Right, don't worry. Your sister is doing fine in the Holy Empire. The Emperor won't bother the two of you for now. But, you already know this. You have to stay hidden for a while longer. I'll come back again soon." As he spoke, Dodd's mind flashed with memories of Yuria's backstory. She had originally come from the Holy Empire. She'd fled to Elfonte after the Holy Emperor declared her sword a cursed weapon, something evil that needed sealing. As the wielder of that blade, she'd been afflicted with the infamous 3.5-step curse. Dodd knew that the only family she had left was her sister. Even just a sliver of hope could help Yuria endure. And so, with a lucky escape, Dodd managed to leave the warehouse safely, sensor in hand. Time passed quickly, and by the next day, the group of new students had gathered on a mountaintop somewhere. In front of them stood a beautiful blonde professor, smiling warmly as she addressed the group. Now then, that over there is the training hall. And that's the magic building. Everyone can see clearly, right? You'll all need to choose your major and minor during the new student ceremony happening in a few days. Only a few days left now. Knight, mage, engineer, priest, you all know these, right? From below, a student raised his hand and asked, "Do the tribal students study together with those from the Holy Empire?" The teacher nodded and replied, "Yes, that's correct. This place trains both sides equally for war and diplomacy, so don't even think about transferring out." She let out a chuckle. "Let me explain more about the major disciplines." Meanwhile, at the back of the group, Dodd already knew most of this information. He stood with arms crossed, casually spacing out. This is one of those world-building tutorial events, meant to give lore exposition. But I can't ignore it. If I do, everything I've prepared so far could be for nothing. Right then, another student, this one with brown hair, asked something that caught Dodd's attention too. "Professor Ophelia, is that the famous void region over there?" Hearing that, everyone turned their gaze forward. They saw a distant area, shrouded in a glowing red light. Their eyes then shifted toward Ophelia, curiosity filling the air. She didn't keep them waiting. "Yes," she nodded, "but that place is off limits. Go there, and you'll be punished." Back to Dodd. He silently watched the place in the distance. The void region, the last remnant of the historical war between heaven and hell. It was the site of the fabled battle between God's messenger and the demonic champion. Though centuries had passed, the collision of divine and deathly energies still lingered. It was one of the most critical locations where demons could potentially break free. Which is why the Holy Nation, the Federation, the tribes, and the Empire formed a protective triangle to monitor it. A triangle that included Elfonte Academy and other institutions nearby. A large red-haired student raised his hand excitedly. "Professor Ophelia, can we go near it to observe?" She nodded, but added with caution, "As long as you stay within the protective barrier cast by the Archangel, you'll be safe." Hearing this, Dodd couldn't help but smile to himself. "Perfect. Now the plan is to leave during the lunch break, and I'll take care of a few things." An ordinary angel could reshape mountains, but the Archangel, the one who cast this barrier, was on a completely different level. Thanks to the barrier, students could exist safely even in such a dangerous place. Unaware of Dodd's inner thoughts, the homeroom teacher, Ophelia, cheerfully announced, "All right, we'll have lunch here." Hearing that, Dodd walked up to her and asked in a low voice, "Professor, can I eat somewhere else? I don't feel very comfortable here." Ophelia nodded with a smile, but reminded him, "Don't go too far, all right? You'll get in trouble if you do." "Yes, ma'am," Dodd replied, then quickly slipped away. Not far behind, a few students glanced toward Dodd with annoyed expressions. "TCH, that bumpkin's just showing off because he got a little attention." Dodd, unaware of their irritation, soon found a quiet spot where no one was watching. He pulled out the censer he had snatched from Uria's stash, pouring in the ingredients: powdered one-horned beast horn, phoenix feather fluff, and a shard of crimson coral. The censer began to emit wisps of soft purple smoke. As the smoke rose, Dodd puffed into it, trying to intensify the flame. "This is the ultimate handheld censer of divine communion. I came all this way to use it. It allows me to touch something normal people wouldn't even dare to dream of." Through Dodd's eyes, the rising smoke formed a swirling vortex in the sky. From within that swirl, humanoid silhouettes began to appear, radiating divine brilliance so intense that Dodd had to shield his eyes. From within the vortex, a series of voices echoed out. "You said the Allied forces were where again? I told you to flatten everything. And you just installed a drain pipe and left? They said it was done by some kid named Gario. Look over there. That brat thinks just digging a hole is enough? Hey, this ground is tough." Another voice replied, kicking down on a pedestal to push it deeper into the soil. "Honestly, the pedestal you're hammering is probably tougher than the ground itself." Then, suddenly, the voice paused. They had noticed something. "Wait a second, is that human watching us through the vortex? He's been staring for quite a while, hasn't he? Well, as long as he keeps his mouth shut, it's better than him actually bothering us." As this was said, a bald celestial figure suddenly realized his companion was using the moment To slack off and rest. His face darkened. Who said you could stop working? Why is your damn pedestal standing still? Hearing the command, the curly-haired angel could only sigh in defeat, returning to his work with a forced smile. Ah, there. It's moving now. Next to him, the bald-headed angel still didn't look satisfied. He barked again. No, you have to even it out. Stop digging deeper, you idiot. Meanwhile, behind the veil of the portal, Dodd remained motionless, watching a group of divine beings digging dirt. This isn't exactly what I imagined heaven would look like. Just then, another angel rolled up in a massive truck, honking loudly to announce his arrival. Hey everyone, delivery of the holy clay bricks is here. Help me unload these, will ya? All the angels turned toward the truck, one of them asking, how many bricks in total? It's infinite, said the long-haired angel, pulling off the tarp covering the back of the truck. But as soon as a female angel noticed, he was munching on a biscuit, she scolded him. Why are you sneaking snacks again? He shot her a dismissive glare. You're the driver, right? And I'm not part of the military unit. So maybe stop sticking your nose in my business and focus on, driving. Meanwhile, the bald commander was still yelling his lungs out. Don't you see your seniors breaking their backs over here? Hurry up and work faster. Hearing that, the curly-haired angel rushed forward, begging to be reassigned. Please let me shape bricks instead. At least it's better than digging dirt and getting yelled at all day. Oh blessed merchant-class brick mold. Please, just let me work with you. In another corner, a young angel handed over a brick to his team leader, asking, Captain, hasn't the food delivery arrived yet? The leader sighed, his voice tinged with regret. Sorry, the food transport broke down halfway here. They're still fixing it. It'll be a little late, please be patient. Back to Dodd, watching all of this unfold. He couldn't help but force a wry smile. So this is why angels aren't always available to descend. If I had to describe them, they're like a military unit, grouped into squads, with ranks and a strict chain of command. So even in this otherworldly realm, the game has its own rules. Normally, I'm not supposed to meet these angels until after Chapter 2, and interacting directly with high-ranking celestials? That only comes much later. But I know what they want. Something incredibly simple. With that thought, Dodd began setting out boxes upon boxes of delicious, mouth-watering food in front of him. Then, loudly and clearly, he exclaimed, Wow, thank you for this amazing meal. Across the veil, several of the angels turned toward him. Attention fully caught. More precisely, what caught their attention was the delicious spread of food that Dodd had laid out. That guy's still watching us. Wait, what's he holding now? Why does he look like he's enjoying that food so much? Should we ask him for a bite? The curly-haired angel mumbled. But before he could finish, the long-haired angel next to him snapped back harshly. You haven't even earned the right to descend to the mortal realm yet. What are you dreaming about? Now get moving. Back with Dodd. He already understood these angels were starving from all the exhausting labor. So he called out cheerfully, Dear angels, please eat something before doing such heavy work. I'd be heartbroken if any of you fainted. The moment he said that, it was as if Dodd's words triggered some kind of world law. The food in front of him automatically transported itself through the portal to the angels. Seeing this miracle, the entire crew of angels lit up with joy. Even the usually grumpy bald commander let out a hearty chuckle. Now this guy's got it right. Alright folks, 10-minute break. Then, upon examining the food, their eyes sparkled. At first I thought it was just some plain bread rolls. But look, steak too? Wow, this human is surprisingly thoughtful. Someone muttered, already chewing. Watching their delighted reactions, Dodd stroked his chin in smug satisfaction. The laws of this world really are different from Earth's. Just one serving from my bag is enough to feed this whole divine crew. Time passed. After they had devoured the entire meal, the bald angel leader turned toward Dodd and nodded in approval. That was delicious. A proper feast. Perfect for manual laborers like us. Bring that over here. Dodd asked. That sensor next to you. The angel said casually. You offered all this for a reason, right? Because you wanted something from us. Let me bless it. Come on, bring it closer. Hearing this, Dodd didn't hesitate for a second. He rushed to bring the sensor near the portal. The angel patted his belly and grinned. Now, what do you want? Keep it reasonable, of course. But I'll do my best to meet your expectations. That offer completely stunned Dodd. Wait, that's it? No bargaining? No tests? I even prepared a whole negotiation script. With backup options. Are there really side quests this easy? In the original story? As Dodd was still trying to process it all, the bald angel, as if reading his thoughts, chuckled and added, "Why wouldn't I treat you kindly? Kid, it's not someone else you're thinking of, is it? You are thinking that, right? I can explain it to you. I can see that. You've been well informed, haven't you? You possess quite the intriguing skill. But you've failed to develop it. Even a little effort will bring you great benefits in the future. You should begin nurturing it now." The angel's voice was calm but firm. So much so that Dodd instinctively gulped. Is he seeing through me right now? It really feels like he is. With just a glance, it was as though the angel could perceive the very essence of all things. He's talking about that gift, isn't he? The one tied to my unique trait, cherished by evil. But Dodd's thoughts were cut short. As the angel continued, that gift, it's far more powerful than you think. But how you forge and wield it, that's entirely up to you. Because of it, you will be caught by a creature, a monster who is ruthless, yet surprisingly kind. Hearing that, Dodd could no longer ignore the implication. Damn it, I knew it. The moment I activated that sensor, I unlocked every possible tactic, every usable route. Now I have to figure out the most optimal narrative path for staying alive. From the angel's side, something changed. For reasons unknown, his appearance reverted from that of a cranky old man to a youthful figure with flowing, golden hair. Most people would have collapsed in fear at the sight, but Dodd remained remarkably calm. I see a remarkable man in the process of becoming, the angel said softly. I suppose I don't need to worry anymore. My blessing is complete. Ah, why yes, thank you, Dodd replied awkwardly, still not entirely sure what just happened. He didn't even do anything flashy. And that was it? Somewhere nearby, another angel called out, Sergeant, why are you telling a human all that stuff? The old young angel scowled at him. Have you finished unloading the holy bricks yet? Ah, almost, sorry. And the angel scurried off in panic. Back to Dodd. He still hadn't fully grasped the layered meanings behind the angel's cryptic words. A ruthless but kind monster? What's that supposed to mean? A remarkable man. He's giving me way too much credit. He scratched his head, perplexed. And just before disappearing, the angel added one final remark. Believe in yourself. Even the smallest things I've told you will make a difference. The moment he finished, the glowing portal in front of Dodd began to fade and quietly sealed shut. Back to Dodd. He was still frozen, processing the words the angel had just told him. I'm only doing this because I don't want to die. But still, that was a warning from an actual angel. I should take it seriously. He glanced at the sensor, curious to see what sort of blessing had been placed upon it. Almost immediately, a series of notification panels popped up before his eyes. Holy Sensor, Grade C. Contains divine power from a being of another world. 2 skills unlocked. Asceticism, Grade C. Uses a small amount of mana to temporarily convert all bonus points into cooldown reserves. 20-second cooldown. Can be evolved using Token of Destiny. Protective Shield, Grade C. Uses a small amount of mana to summon a one-time shield and apply a beneficial effect. 20-second cooldown. Can be evolved using Holy Seal. Reading the descriptions, Dodd was genuinely surprised. Wait, I just gave them some food. And I got blessings this good in return? Those skills are insanely useful. The shield's effectiveness scales with his max HP, which meant a direct buff to survivability. On top of that, his desperate survival mode skill already raised his base stats during danger. If I combine these properly, I could maximize my survival odds. But the most important part? These blessings were evolvable, which meant over time, their performance would scale naturally. To receive something like this early in the story, this is pure luck. However, there was one small issue. Both skills require just a tiny bit of mana. But I don't have any mana-based attributes. If I can't use mana effectively now, I'll have to find another way to compensate. And that's exactly why I came here. At that moment, Dodd had arrived in what looked like a wide plaza, surrounded by numerous other students. Across from him, a person managing the event frowned. You've been spacing out for a while now. Is not paying attention one of your hidden talents? You said you wanted to sign up for a 2-man team. right? Then where's your partner? Dodd, unfazed, smiled confidently. She'll be here soon. His self-assured tone made the staff member raise an eyebrow and chuckle. Ha, and who would show up for some no-name like you? But Dodd, unshaken, reaffirmed, I'm not making it up. This place is about to get packed. My teammate? She's not just popular. She's legendary. You'll see. After saying that, he checked the watch on his wrist. According to the storyline, she should be arriving right about. And just like that, as if the world itself was responding to his wish, the voice of the sword-wielding girl, Elia, suddenly rang out from behind. Excuse me, is this the monster research room? Hearing that familiar voice, Dodd turned his head and raised his hand in greeting. This simple gesture, a wave, was the result of his recent meeting with the old angel. Honestly, I didn't want to get involved with the main characters, but maybe I've changed, especially after hearing that angel's advice. On the other side, Elia paused, slightly confused by Dodd's sudden friendliness. Then Dodd offered, about what you said earlier, about getting to know each other. We can still do that, right? Elia stood stunned for a second, processing what he just said. You're really something. You know that, Dodd? You've failed every single attempt you've made since arriving here. And now suddenly you remember me? Thanks to your little, make them jealous stunt, I've been getting non-stop attention. Just how delusional is this guy? She muttered internally. Time passed quickly. The scene shifted to a simulated dungeon inside Elefante Academy. Now paired together, Dodd and Elia were engaged in a virtual combat simulation. As flickering red eyes glowed faintly in the darkness ahead, Elia glanced toward Dodd nervously. You're really sure about this? From behind, Dodd groaned as if he had just woken up from a nap. Come on, have a little faith. Didn't you say you wanted to be friends? You do remember. You were the one who tried to beat me up the first time we met, right? Actually, I'm the one who got beaten. Elia hesitated. Right. Just then, as if sensing the monsters were about to attack, Dodd gave a quick command. If you want to be friends, then follow my lead. 9 o'clock, 3 incoming. Following his call, Elia immediately turned to the 9 o'clock direction. Sure enough, a wolf came charging straight at her, fangs bared and eyes glowing. Thanks to the warning, she was ready. One clean swing, and the wolf's head was off. But before she could even catch her breath, Dodd called out with a grin. 2 more, above you. Time flew. Now they were facing off against several giant bats. Drawing from his in-game knowledge, Dodd quickly identified the species and gave instructions. Their weak points up top. Aim for the body, not the wings. Hearing that, Elia adjusted her stance and swung her sword upward with precision. With a swift swing, Elia cleaved the giant bat clean in half. But she couldn't help gritting her teeth and snapping. Stop giving out orders. Come help me already. But Dodd, as if he didn't hear her complaints, continued calmly issuing commands. 2 daggers incoming, left and right. Just knock them aside. Hold out for 10 more seconds. Elia, barely keeping her cool, swung her sword again, deflecting both projectiles away with ease. Nice work. Dodd chimed in, smiling. Next up, there's a paralyzing toxin sprayer, right side. Destroy it quickly. After that, dodge the arrow coming from my direction. Just stay where you are. 3, 2, 1. Attack incoming from behind. The barrage of instructions was getting faster and more intense, and Elia was starting to struggle to keep up. She barely turned in time to block a crushing blow from a massive, one-eyed monster. The impact sent her skidding backward. Her smaller frame trembled from the sheer force of the attack, and her rage was building fast. Why the hell is all the hard work falling on me, while this guy in the back just waves his fingers around like he's orchestrating a concert? She snapped. If you know all this, shouldn't you be doing it instead? We'd level up faster if we worked together. But behind her, Dodd was muttering under his breath. It's not that I don't want to help. I just can't. I'm a trash tier character, with all my stats at F rank. Literally everything. In these simulation battles, there's no real killing intent, which means my survival-based skill, desperate mode, doesn't even activate. These are just AI constructs, executing pre-programmed patterns. Desperate mode isn't an all-purpose cheat code. I've got to boost my base stats, fast. While Dodd was mentally coaching himself, Elia, in the middle of the fray, yelled to hype herself up. Let's go. She gripped her sword tightly, and suddenly lunged straight at Dodd. With a fierce look on her face. Dodd's smile immediately froze. Am I the villain here? But contrary to what he thought, Elia was actually trying to protect him. A one-eyed beast had snuck up behind Dodd, ready to land a killing blow. But Elia moved just in time. With one clean slash, she decapitated the monster, saving Dodd from a guaranteed death. For a brief moment, Dodd just stood there, stunned. But before he could react, from both sides, a sudden burst of confetti exploded into the air, along with a chorus of congratulatory fanfare. You've just broken the record for this stage. Hearing that, Elia's eyes widened in disbelief. She immediately turned and asked, Wait, what? I broke the record? Fighting all by myself? This stage was designed for 2 players. What the hell is going on? Dodd, meanwhile, simply smiled with a laid-back tone. Maybe it's just luck? The next zone's gonna be a bit tougher. Let's keep moving. Good luck, Tilda. His casual response ignited a burning fury inside Elia. Her teeth clenched tight, and her gaze screamed murder, as she glared at Dodd with a look that could kill. Meanwhile, in the special observation room, above the training arena, a group of professors had been monitoring Dodd and Elia's battle through some kind of magical projection device. After watching the full match, a woman in full mage regalia, Percy, head of the magic faculty, nodded in approval. Looks like we'll need to allocate more budget to the simulation program next year. Don't you think so? Across from her, Conrad, calmly resting a hand on the head of some absent-minded assistant, replied, Yeah, probably. This is the design faculty's mess, isn't it? But more importantly, he smiled faintly. Seems I've been lucky. The one I've been watching closely is the one pulling this off. Percy, clearly misunderstanding, raised a brow. You mean, the girl? The candidate we've been eyeing for next term? They're progressing fast. Definitely worth tracking. Conrad gave a soft sigh. She definitely didn't get it. No, not her. He corrected. I mean him, Dodd Campbell. Percy turned her gaze to Dodd, visibly unimpressed. Him? That scammer? Isn't he just tagging along with a combat candidate? Conrad facepalmed internally. Typical mages? Too obsessed with spinning pens and overanalyzing diagrams. He answered flatly. No combat candidate could have broken that record alone. Any ordinary person watching might assume she was the MVP. But he was the key. His position, his timing, the way he issued commands, seamlessly supported each move. Every action showed razor-sharp judgment. It's as if he's been on hundreds of battlefields already. Then Conrad smirked. Let's bet on them, you and me. Back inside the dungeon, Dodd and Elia suddenly heard a voice echoing through the system speakers. This is Conrad Valtador from the Night Faculty. After observing you two, I've grown quite interested. Dean Percy and I have made a wager to see whether the two of you can surpass the record we set back when we were freshmen. If you succeed, you'll each be granted one wish, anything, from either of us. Of course, if this pressure is too much, I won't force it on you. Even now, your performance is already extraordinary. This challenge was considered nearly impossible from the beginning. But Dodd didn't wait for the professor to finish his thought. No worries, sir, we can do it. His firm and immediate response left Elia completely stunned behind him. Meanwhile, up in the observation room, Professor Percy frowned, clearly unimpressed. Look at him, so full of himself. But Conrad remained calm and confident. I'm betting on him. Start the next phase. Scene shift, training grounds. Elnor's close friend was pacing back and forth, muttering, What's going on with you lately? I get that you're trying to clear your head, but aren't you going a little overboard? In front of her, Elnor stood drenched in sweat from intense solo practice. There's something I'm trying to remember. She replied quietly. When I was little, my mother taught me this technique, but I can't recall it anymore. So I'm starting from scratch. There's a rumor that runs through the Tristan bloodline. A dark tale with 2 faces. One, inhuman talent, so extreme it borders on the divine. The other, madness, violent outbursts, mental collapse, and the slow decay of reason. That's why, even though the Tristans have achieved legendary feats, many of them end their lives in tragedy. As Elnor paused to drink some water, her friend asked hesitantly, It's not that serious, is it? Elnor shook her head. No need to worry. It doesn't matter. For real? Her friend didn't believe a word. The disbelief made Elnor frown slightly. I told you, Nothing can bother me right now. But just then, her friend replied with a pointed report. Oh really? Because here's the info you asked for. Just got word, Dodd Campbell is currently teamed up with Elia, the candidate warrior for next term. You know, the girl he fought before? Elnor's eyes narrowed. She asked coldly. You mean they've paired up? Her friend nodded. Seems like it. The simulation requires a two-person team. After all, Elnor closed her eyes, took a long breath in, and exhaled slowly. I see. Take me there. Her friend's jaw dropped. You just said you didn't care. But what she didn't notice was the plastic water bottle in Elnor's hand, now crushed into a crumpled mess from her grip. Back to Dodd's team. Elia, sword in hand, was staring at Dodd, as if she was trying to decipher an ancient language. What the hell is going on in that head of yours? To make you so casually accept Conrad's insane challenge? She spoke up, asking him what he intended to do. I know you have the skills. She continued. But even so, is it really worth challenging the all-time record? Not at all, Dodd replied calmly, without the slightest hesitation. His response made Elia look at him with a doubtful gaze. Your confidence really is something else, she said. Is there any reason you're doing this? To Dodd. Of course there was. He was already a veteran in this game. So this tiny challenge meant nothing to him. It would be easier to exploit their weaknesses, because artificial monsters moved in predictable patterns. But he couldn't reveal that to her. Dodd silently thought to himself, then replied casually, because you're here with me. That line made the female swordsman's cheeks turn slightly pink. She sighed in disbelief. You really are unbelievable. Inside the monitoring room, Professor Conrad, seeing that both of them were ready, spoke up. This is Conrad. Are you two ready? Yes, we are, they both replied in unison. Hearing that, the professor of the night faculty nodded in approval. Perfect. Now there's just one last step. You can adjust the difficulty. The higher the difficulty, the greater the reward. Without a moment's hesitation, Dodd immediately requested the highest difficulty. Standing beside the head of the magic faculty, Percy couldn't hide her displeasure at his confidence. Her eyebrows furrowed tightly. I really can't believe these new students. I like that kind of energy. But this is just too much. The highest difficulty level is basically real combat. They could die during the challenge. Dodd, overhearing her words, replied lightly. Even so, I believe it's still worth trying. From Professor Conrad's perspective, seeing Dodd's unwavering confidence, he decided to place his trust in the boy, just this once. Alright then, let's go with his decision. And with that, he officially began activating the combat system. The simulated battlefield filled with loud mechanical sounds, making sweat roll down Elia's beautiful face from nervousness. Standing beside her, Dodd smiled and reassured her. Don't worry, warrior candidate. Whatever happens, it's already begun. Meanwhile, Professor Percy leisurely sipped a cup of tea freshly brought by her subordinate. She complained to Conrad. I still can't believe you. Conrad. In response, Professor Conrad calmly reminded her. This isn't your first time doing this, is it? Didn't we do the exact same thing for the last batch of new students? Conrad's explanation didn't get Percy's approval. In fact, it only seemed to irritate her even more. This time is different, she snapped. They could actually die. But unlike her concern, Conrad still placed his faith in Dodd's team. Just wait and see, Professor Percy, he said. I'm sure there's a reason he's so confident. Even if things really do get too dangerous, we can just step in and rescue them. Can't we? Alright, the slaughter mode has been activated. Show us what you've got. New students. At that moment, under everyone's watchful eyes, a horde of monsters of all shapes and sizes descended from above, charging straight toward Dodd and Elia, with bloodthirsty eyes. Seeing this, the swordswoman Elia could only grit her teeth and shout, damn it, let's do this. Elsewhere, a poor staff member from the design department was already crying internally. Our whole department is doomed. Back to Dodd. The more dangerous the monsters, the more excited he became. At that moment, the system issued a bright red warning. Danger detected. Threat level, lethal. Immediately after that, Dodd's desperation skill, Plea of Despair, was activated at its highest level, causing a surge of energy to flood his entire body. Without any hesitation, he swiftly swung his sword toward a giant rhino monster falling from the sky. His strike created a blade of light that sliced clean through the monster's massive head in just one hit. Seeing this, Professor Conrad in the observation room couldn't hold back his excitement and shouted, "I knew it! This is exactly what I was looking for! Did you see that, Percy?" Startled by his outburst, Professor Percy nearly choked and spilled her tea everywhere. The guy from the design department also stared in shock. At the same time, Elia witnessed Dodd's overwhelming power, and all of her anxiety seemed to vanish. "I knew it, Dodd," she whispered. Meanwhile, Professor Percy rushed to the screen. After seeing Dodd wiping out wave after wave of monsters, she stood frozen. "Wait, how? How is this even possible? He was completely useless just a moment ago." In response, Professor Conrad shared his thoughts. "I think he was just pretending. But I don't blame you. If I didn't know about his skill transformation, I'd react the same way you did." As time passed, the monsters became stronger, and so did Dodd. It was a case of parallel growth. Just like that, the training battle turned into a one-sided domination in favor of Dodd's two-person team. The number of monsters inside the training room quickly began to dwindle. On her side, the swordswoman Elia drove her blade deep into the body of a massive red spider, pinning it down with force. She shouted, "Now, Dodd!" Hearing her call, Dodd, standing behind, immediately used her shoulder as a foothold and leapt high into the air. He then executed the sword technique of Tristan, unleashing a flurry of strikes upon the body of the giant red spider in a blink of an eye, leaving it no choice but to succumb, just like the rest of the defeated monsters. After the two of them finished off the creature, a system voice rang out. "Congratulations, you have successfully broken the all-time record." However, it still wasn't over. The red spider hadn't completely died. Before collapsing, it used its last ounce of strength to swing one massive leg straight at the protagonist, who was still immersed in victory. "Dodd, duck!" Elia shouted from behind, but before the spider could strike, its body suddenly exploded into countless pieces. The one who had intervened was none other than Professor Conrad, who had just rushed over. "Congratulations," he said. "Seems like you've set a record that won't be broken for years to come. Who would have thought we'd have a freshman capable of clearing Elfante's artificial monsters like it was a walk in the park? Thank you for your effort, warrior candidate." With that, he retracted his sword and turned playfully to Professor Percy, who had just arrived. "I won, Percy. Feels good, doesn't it?" Annoyed, Percy replied with a glare. Next, both Dodd and Elia received their promised rewards from the two professors. Looking at the paper in her hand, Elia gasped aloud. Permission to rent an item from the Vision Warehouse, and the right to request any favor from the head of the magic faculty. This is amazing. Beside her, Dodd glanced at her paper and commented, "This isn't something a freshman usually gets access to. We're supposed to get equal rewards, right?" Back to Elia. After the excitement faded, she curiously asked Dodd, "Hey, I've noticed something. Why do you always stay so calm? No matter what happens, you always act like you already knew how things were going to unfold, or like you had everything planned ahead of time. The way you move and make decisions, it gives off that feeling." As she said that, Elia held out her fist and smiled. "Hey, guys do this with their friends, right? I mean, your hand, put it here." Seeing that, Dodd let out a sigh. "Seriously," he muttered. Still, despite his grumbling, he bumped his fist against Elia's. And with that one simple gesture, Elia's curiosity toward Dodd officially reached level 5, just short of trust level. "See you tomorrow, Dodd," Elia said excitedly before quickly running off. As Dodd watched her back disappear into the distance, he simply shook his head. "I don't know if she's just friendly or completely bizarre." Just then, a sudden voice rang out behind him. "Right? That's what I thought too." Startled by the voice, Dodd turned to the side and exclaimed. The student council president, standing before him, was Eleanor, who didn't care the slightest that she had startled him. Instead, she asked bluntly, "Do you like me?" That question made Dodd instantly break out in a nervous sweat. The only thing that calmed him slightly was that no red alert notification appeared. Plea of despair hadn't been triggered, which probably meant she didn't intend to kill him. But hold on, wasn't this already way too direct? "I'm not even her boyfriend." Eleanor, seeing he didn't respond, coldly repeated her question. "I'll only ask once more. Do you like me?" This time, the system cautiously issued a warning. Threat detected. Threat detected. The notification made sweat drench Dodd's back, and every hair on his body stood on end. He told himself, I need to say something. Anything. Thinking fast to save his skin. Dodd blurted out, President Elnor, even though I've been training with Elia all this time, I've always wanted to see you. His words stunned the cold-blooded Villainous. Meanwhile, Dodd was internally cursing himself. What the hell are you doing? Dodd Campbell? You actually said that out loud. You idiot. On the other side, whatever Elnor was imagining in her head, it made her smile faintly. So, what you're saying is, you've been thinking about me this whole time? She asked softly. Dodd nodded furiously like a pecking chicken. Yes, that's exactly right. Why? Elnor questioned suspiciously. That one hit Dodd where it hurt. He was completely speechless, because the last thing he wanted was to be anywhere near Elnor, let alone miss her. With no idea how to explain himself, Dodd fumbled and stammered silently. Then, seemingly thinking of something, Elnor brushed her hair back and continued. Forget it, Elnor said. Maybe this is just one of those friendship-type things. I get it now, because I saved you on that ship. Right? Just remember the priority list. In front of her, Dodd's face looked like someone who had just crawled out of a cave. He had no idea what she was talking about. Priority list? What is she even saying? Dodd wondered to himself, completely lost. But before he could come up with any answer, Elnor handed him an envelope and said, Don't worry about that. I actually came to give you this. To Dodd, that envelope looked suspiciously dangerous. Was this a love letter, or some sort of challenge? What the hell is this? There's no protocol for something like this. While he was internally panicking, Elnor seemed a little flustered. She looked off to the side and said, I was planning to give this to you tomorrow. But make sure to open it when you're alone. Okay? With that, the student council president turned and quickly walked away, leaving Dodd standing there stunned, blankly holding the invitation in his hand. Time passed quickly. Back in his private room, Dodd immediately opened the letter and read it. He quickly understood what Elnor wanted. She wanted him to be her companion at tomorrow's freshman welcome party. Crap, I totally forgot about that. Being her companion wasn't a big deal. All he had to do was spend time with her during the event. But the problem was the penalty. If he declined her offer, not only would her affection level drop, but others might even become hostile toward him. Just then, a knock came at the door, snapping Dodd out of his thoughts. He opened it, and standing there was Elia. I figured it was you, Dodd said quietly. Elia's eyes lit up slightly with joy. She smiled and tilted her head. You catch on pretty quick, don't you? With that, she handed him another envelope. Dodd sighed. Not this again? His reaction made Elia raise an eyebrow. Curious. What do you mean, Agan? Did someone else give you one of these? No. Dodd quickly corrected himself. I mean, what is this, exactly? But in his heart, Dodd already had a strong hunch what this second envelope was. I'm gonna die. Don't tell me. She's here to ask the same thing too. From Elia's perspective, she didn't bother explaining. With a playful expression, she simply said, What do you think? A surprise. Obviously. I made up my mind during that simulated battle. I had to run. All thanks to those rules the student council president set. But hurry up and read it. With that, the female lead quickly ran off, leaving Dodd standing there with a dumbfounded face. In the end, he could only bury his face in his hands, groaning in frustration as he returned to his room to check the letter. Why are there so many strange people in this world? What even is this? Is it another companion request? If it's from Elia, maybe it's some kind of challenge. But she said it was a surprise, damn it. It was another companion request. And it happened to overlap with Elnor's. This isn't supposed to happen according to the system's rules. Why can't they just give me a simple choice? If I choose Elnor, I'll basically be seen as a villain by the protagonist. But if I choose Elia, I'll piss off the final boss and possibly get killed. All because of that stupid priority list. And if I reject both? I don't even know what'll happen anymore. I guess this happened because both of them are still in the interested phase. This is bad. Really bad. Should I just accept both? The more Dodd thought about it, the more he felt like if he chose only one and left the other behind, he'd be signing a deal with death itself. Time passed, until finally, the day of the freshman welcome party arrived. Scene change. A lavish, extravagant grand hall. Inside, students gathered in droves. Voices started echoing through the crowd. Hey, aren't you in Class A? Oh, You're from Class A too. The professors are here already. Within the crowd, Elia, looking absolutely radiant, was waving a hand to fan herself, trying to cool off from the stuffiness of the packed hall. Phew, so many people, she muttered. This place feels like a pigsty. Still, she smiled and turned to Dodd. Thanks for coming with me. Standing next to her was Dodd, his hair parted sharply to the sides, expression flat as he responded with a cold, Scene shift. To a quiet fountain somewhere else. There sat another Dodd, with a completely different hairstyle. Explanation. The Dodd who went with Elia was actually a clone, a projection created by the real Dodd. It was a phantom duplicate worth 1.000 points. Purchased from the system shop. This item allowed him to create a replica of himself. And all beneficial effects from the original would also apply to the clone. At the same time, the system sent him a new event notification. Dual date event triggered. You've chosen to date both targets. Amazing. But don't get caught. Until the event ends. Failure will result in penalties. Back to Dodd. He stared at his system status screen and sighed. I spent all my points on this. Even if it's just a clone. Hopefully it'll be worth it. Even though there were lots of people around. This plan could still fail miserably. If anyone saw both him and his clone in the same place, that would blow his cover immediately. I'll set the clone's personality to cold gentleman. Should be distant enough to avoid suspicion. But before Dodd could finish his thought, a fierce roar suddenly erupted not far away. It came from a monster, locked in a steel cage, causing Dodd to jolt in surprise. Just a monster from outside the academy. Looks like they're planning an experiment. It's probably going to escape. And that'll kick off the main event. All I need to do is survive. With both Elnor and Elia nearby. It shouldn't be too bad, right? Suddenly, another system notification popped up. Pheromones activated. You're not just a boy anymore. Item purchased and applied. This made Dodd freeze in place. Totally confused by what was going on. And just as that happened, Elnor showed up. There you are, she said, squinting. What's that smell? Did you spray something? She wrinkled her nose. Dodd, trying to play it off, replied awkwardly. No. The flowers here have a pretty strong natural scent. But before he could finish, Elnor's face suddenly turned beet red. I know this scent is coming from you, she said, flustered. And it's driving me crazy. Staring at her flushed face, which now looked suspiciously like she was in heat. Dodd's internal biological alarm began blaring non-stop. He instinctively waved his hands in front of himself, as if trying to swat away the invisible scent. What the hell is this pheromone nonsense? Please, stop it. Just stop it, he screamed in his heart. But the system, ever unhelpful, followed up with another message. Pheromone effect successfully applied to target, Elnor. Target is actively trying not to become attracted to you. That was not comforting. Right next to him, the once icy Elnor began fluttering her eyes at him. And whispered, Dodd Campbell? I wonder why I never noticed until now. But you're a lot more masculine than I thought. Dodd couldn't feel even an ounce of joy. In fact, he felt the cold breath of death, creeping one step closer. Please, make it stop? He prayed silently. To change the mood, Dodd quickly suggested, why don't we head over to the event? We could check out a few of the booths nearby. To his relief, Elnor didn't seem to mind. She nodded. Sure, lead the way. Freshman. Back to Dodd's point of view. His proposal to take Elnor around the event wasn't random at all. It was all part of the plan. At this moment, his clone and Elia had probably already met. Dodd reminded himself, I have to make sure I don't run into them. Please let nothing go wrong. If things keep going like this, maybe it'll all be fine. All the clone and I need to do is escort both girls separately. With that in mind, Dodd turned to Elnor and made another suggestion. How about we head to that snack booth over there and grab something to eat? Hearing this, Elnor gave him a sidelong glance. With a mysterious smile. Sure, she replied. Dodd led her to the grilled meat stand. Let's try these wild boar skewers, he said. That, however, was the worst possible suggestion for Elnor, a girl who was extremely mindful of her figure. Dodd's real goal, reduce the effect of the pheromones. But fate seemed to be working against him. Elnor's eyes lit up as she looked at the skewers and softly said, You knew I liked these? What a coincidence, huh? Upon hearing that, Dodd started screaming internally. Oh no, this is getting worse. If she sees I don't even like wild boar, I've got to keep her close while pushing her away at the same time. And also make sure Elia stays as far from me as possible. Next, they visited a booth selling decorative accessories. The shiny trinkets on display caught Elnor's eye. She paused and said, "Looks like they sell accessories here. Need anything, freshman?" To that, Dodd quickly refused, then flipped the question. "Let me buy something for you instead." That's what he said on the surface. But inside, he was thinking, buy a gift for Elnor? No way. I need to lower her affection level. I've got to give her the worst gift possible. His eyes locked onto a button lying on the table. Perfect. He picked it up and held it out. How about this button? What do you think? Under normal circumstances, a guy giving a girl something like that would be enough to get blocked forever. But the pheromone effect was still in full swing. Elnor's heart was so influenced that even a gift like this made her beam with joy. "Actually, I did need a button for my new uniform," she said with a bright smile. Meanwhile, Dodd bit his lip hard. This is bad, really bad, he thought. After wandering around a bit more, the two of them finally sat down in a rest area with some drinks. Then, Elnor asked, "By the way, have you decided on your major yet?" Dodd nodded. "Yeah, I've decided to go into theology." His answer sparked immediate curiosity. In the heart of the Villainous, "You chose theology?" Elnor raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that? With your talent, wouldn't it be a waste not to join the night faculty?" Dodd shook his head. "There's something I want to learn from the theology department," he answered. He had his reasons. "My life, and the fall of the Holy Knights. They're both essential for me to survive. They're crucial to reaching the ending I want. It's tied to the secret organization's event, an event that will happen in the future. And the final boss of that arc was especially vulnerable to Holy Knights." On the other side, Elnor grew even more curious. "Something you want to learn? Huh?" Dodd replied calmly. "To protect the things that matter to me, I have to study there." Elnor narrowed her eyes. "And what exactly do you want to protect?" Hearing this, Dodd activated full-on protagonist mode. His expression turned solemn, like he was reminiscing something from his past. "Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to protect that one thing." Elnor, now even more intrigued, asked, "Does that have anything to do with why you're always so entangled with me?" Dodd nodded. "That's right." But before he could say more, Elnor cut him off. "I know all about the curse on the Tristan family, the one that drives every single member into madness." Hearing that, Dodd shrugged. "Isn't the only way to fight it through mental discipline?" His response made Elnor's eyes sharpen. She stared directly at him and replied coldly, "So you know the way to fix it?" Dodd didn't hide anything. He answered without hesitation. "The blessing of the angels. A miracle where two archangels bestow grace upon one person. Or, at least, that's what they say." Elnor nodded in agreement. "Yeah, it really is that difficult. That's why, even though the Tristan family has achieved so much, we're still afraid." "Then why?" she asked. "Do you stay so close to me? Why are you always there when someone tries to assassinate me? What are you planning?" Dodd went silent. It took him a few seconds before he finally answered. "The thing I want to protect is you." At that moment, Elnor's shoulders trembled slightly. "And what exactly am I to you that I need protecting?" she asked. Dodd looked her straight in the eyes and said, "If I can't protect you, I'll die. That's it. There's no other reason." Elnor brushed her hair back, gave a soft, awkward chuckle, and said, "I knew it, but you really are such a weirdo." Dodd let out a heavy sigh and muttered, "I've said it so many times already." He had told her the whole truth. Honestly, without holding anything back, he hoped it would finally satisfy her curiosity. Silently, he offered up a small prayer. Meanwhile, in another scene, Dodd's clone and Elia were now descending into the basement. Wine glasses in hand, the place beneath the academy was filled with cages, each holding monsters used for experimentation. The two walked in silence, neither saying a word. To Elia, Dodd's demeanor felt different today. Is he mad at me or something? Why isn't he talking? Trying to break the uncomfortable silence, Elia spoke up. "Why are we going down to the basement?" But the clone Dodd behind her remained silent, which only made things more awkward. "I'm trying to get closer to him, to learn more about the Tristan family. But what do you even do with someone like him? I don't understand guys at all. This is insane." Looking around the eerie space, she frowned. "What even is this place? It's full of living monsters. Looks like they're used for student experiments." These professors seriously have no sense of social responsibility. Leaving them all down here like this, asterisk. Elia grumbled, right before a guttural growl from one of the monsters caught her attention. She approached one of the cages and cautiously peered inside. There are monsters even bigger in here? And they're not even restrained? Her voice was filled with suspicion. At that exact moment, a strange device attached to the iron bars suddenly flashed red, and then exploded with a massive blast. Luckily, Dodd's clone reacted instantly. He grabbed Elia and leapt to the side, shielding her. But the explosion was powerful. The entire grand hall above shook violently. Back at Elia's side, she was still in shock, realizing Dodd had used his body to protect her from the explosion. Why? She asked instinctively. Dodd answered coldly. This is part of my job. Right after saying that, he collapsed, unconscious. What do you mean, Dodd? Elia called out. But before she could say anything else, she suddenly felt it. A surge of bloodlust aimed directly at her. Because of the explosion, many of the test monsters had escaped from their cages. Their glowing red eyes, filled with murderous rage, locked onto Elia. But she didn't flinch. There wasn't even the slightest trace of fear in her gaze. She reached down, picked up a piece of iron rod lying on the ground, and spoke firmly. Anyway, thank you for protecting me. Now it's my turn to protect you. Back at Dodd's position, at that exact moment, he received a system notification. Main quest activated. Monsters have appeared. Suppress the situation immediately. If casualties exceed the limit, you will receive a severe scenario penalty. Reward: exclusive equipment crafting materials. The moment he read the message, Dodd didn't hesitate. He stood up at once. I've got something I need to do. President, I need you to find one of the clerics in the rear area. Elnor, confused by his urgency, was about to question him. But Dodd cut her off. His face grim and focused. Please, we need to protect the students. Without another word, he sprinted down into the lower basement, while simultaneously recalling his clone, and shouted to Elia, who was just ahead. Did they release all the monsters already? Is that all of them? Elia, wielding nothing but a metal rod, had already taken down every monster that tried to attack her, without a scratch on her. Seeing Dodd arrive, she exhaled a breath of relief. You're awake? Thank the heavens. But I let one of them slip away. A big one. It's probably somewhere on the first floor. We can still stop it if we move quickly. But I think I need a break first. As she spoke, Elia's body began to wobble, and she had to lean on the rod, just to keep herself from falling. Though she had defeated the monsters, she was clearly on the brink of exhaustion. Back to Dodd's perspective, hearing that, he instantly figured it out. The one that escaped must be that massive bear from earlier. The main scenario takes priority now. If I fail, the penalty will be severe. I can't let that happen. Scene shift. The main banquet hall. Just as Dodd suspected, the escaped monster was indeed the ferocious giant bear. It was rampaging toward the group of new students. Luckily, a man in the crowd acted fast, casting a magic spell to form a protective barrier around everyone. Hold on until the professors or knights arrive. Just don't let the barrier break. No sooner had he finished speaking, the bear roared in fury, slamming its massive paws onto the barrier wall. Cracks started spidering out from the impact, spreading in all directions. Elsewhere in the banquet hall, Elnor stood at the edge, watching the monster with a deeply worried expression. Right now, neither the headmaster nor Professor Conrad is here. In response to her words, the priest standing nearby shook his head. We can't afford to lose the angel's benediction. His statement made Elnor grit her teeth in anger. You call yourself a priest? There are still students here. But the priest just shrugged, completely unfazed. Such words are too harsh for a professor. Lady Elnor, a high-level barrier like the angel's benediction isn't something just anyone can activate. The knights will arrive soon. Let's wait for them. This is why I opposed using those monsters for experiments. I knew we shouldn't have entrusted that power to the Tristan family. Beside him, Elnor could only clench her jaw in frustration. But right at that moment, Dodd's body flashed past both of them like a gust of wind. In the process, he casually snatched the necklace from around the priest's neck and shouted, I'll handle this. The priest turned, stunned. Who the hell was that? Bring that back. He's just a student. Does he even know what the angel's benediction is? Dodd ignored his shouting completely. He took out his incense burner, tossed the necklace into it, and the system immediately responded. Confirmed. Sacred relic has fused with ritual beads. Skill unlocked. Ascetic holy shield. Then another notification followed. Danger detected. Mortal level threat. Desperate plea activated, rank S. Without delay, Dodd launched into a sliding dash, straight past the giant bear, heading toward the man who was still holding up the barrier. Seeing him approach, the man panicked. Wait, what are you doing? Why aren't you running? Dodd responded calmly. I'll buy you time. Please, get the students out of here. Then he turned around, facing the massive bear, whose enormous paw was already mid-swing, heading straight for him. Without a second of hesitation, Dodd activated asceticism, a skill that converts all secondary attributes into raw physique. Then he triggered Holy Shield. A glowing cross manifested in front of him, radiating with brilliant light. Moments later, a pair of spectral angel wings unfolded around him, forming a radiant barrier that shielded his entire body. Thanks to the shield, the bear's crushing blow never even reached him. Around them, the banquet guests gasped in shock. Is that the angel's benediction? How can a mere student use such a thing? Meanwhile, the priest from earlier was pulling at his hair and shouting, "That idiot! Even official priests need countless prayers to barely activate it. How the hell did he?" Scene cuts back to Elnor's point of view. She had initially planned to rush forward with her sword to help, but the moment she saw that skill activate, Elnor's steps suddenly came to a halt. After everything that's happened, I don't even feel surprised anymore. I've seen him hide his true power so many times. These thoughts ran through Elnor's mind as she kept her gaze fixed on Dodd. She didn't know what side the priest was on, but seeing Dodd withstand blow after blow from the monster's attacks, the man grumbled irritably. Why the hell can't that stupid beast break through such a simple barrier? It's being maintained by a student. His words made Elnor turn back, clearly annoyed. Are you seriously a professor? You're not even trying to help. And what are you doing? She asked, glancing over her shoulder. Following her gaze, Elia appeared, finally back from resting. The moment she arrived, she walked up to the worthless priest and delivered a clean karate chop to his neck, knocking him out cold. My apologies, Student Council President, Elia said, but this guy's clearly useless to us. Elnor didn't even blink at the move. Instead, she asked, what took you so long? I passed out in the basement. Elia replied, I just got back up here. Her body trembled slightly. Clearly, she hadn't fully recovered yet. Still, she turned her eyes back toward the front and muttered, forget that for now. That Dodd guy, did he seriously use Angel's benediction? Right here, on the spot? He's not even a priest. They say it takes at least a year of training to be able to use it. How is this even possible? Her voice trembled with disbelief. Standing beside her, Elnor heard those words, and her thoughts drifted back to what Dodd had said to her when they were sitting together, talking over drinks. Holy power can only be used after 1 year. Huh? Her face grew complicated. Just one glance at her expression was enough for Elia to guess what she was thinking. She continued, even if that was a stored version of Angel's benediction, it should still have limits on how much power he could draw from it. You must feel pretty lucky. Huh? He's doing all of this for the Tristan family, and for you. Otherwise, there's no reason for him to go this far. Elnor wasn't an idiot. She could already piece together what was happening. From the very beginning, I had a feeling. He really is a strange one. And deep within the dark, desolate world of Elnor's mind, a faint ray of light began to shine. Meanwhile, Dodd was still gritting his teeth, holding up the holy shield, as the giant bear treated him like a punching bag to vent all of its rage. The bear's massive arms swung like machines, forcing Dodd to break out in a cold sweat. But poor, stupid beast, it focused solely on the protagonist, not realizing that the most dangerous person here wasn't him. Before anyone could react, to everyone's shock, Elnor drew her sword and charged at the monster like a bolt of lightning, slashing directly into its massive body. The powerful strike slammed the beast into the ground, sending cracks spidering across the floor. However, the blow was not enough to bring the giant bear down. Instead, it roared in rage and charged back at Elnor like a raging tank. Each of its footsteps shook the earth beneath them. Facing its charge, Elnor calmly closed her eyes, pulled her sword back, and lunged forward with blinding speed. Her thrusts hit like machine gun fire, striking the bear's body in rapid succession. But for some reason, it was like the bear was on steroids. Even as its body became riddled with bloody holes, it still roared and surged forward in a frenzy. Seeing this, Elnor spun mid-air and activated her skill. Tramontana, a semi-circular energy wave, burst forth from her blade, slamming into the monster, sending it flying backward, before detonating in a massive explosion. Nearby, Dodd stared in disbelief. That was Tristan's true sword technique? It's on a completely different level from my fake version. Wait, something's not right. In the original story, Elnor was never involved in events like this, almost like confirming his doubt. The system issued another notification. Main quest complete. Monster defeated, no casualties. Achievement. Astounding. Time until Night Squad arrives, 30 seconds. But Dodd wasn't focused on the system. His eyes were locked on Elnor. And he was worried. All the professors, who defended the monster experiments, were supporters of the Tristan family. If Elnor gets involved, that's as good as admitting her family's mistake. But Elnor doesn't care about politics. So why is she helping us? I don't get it. Forget it. Let's just finish the quest first. Asterisk. Up front, Elnor calmly slid her sword back into its sheath, murmuring, "It's over." But fate always had its surprises. Right then, Dodd's eyes widened, and he shouted, "Princess, behind you." Following his gaze, Elnor turned and saw, from the burning wreckage, the giant bear's body suddenly lurched up again. Its skeletal arm lashed forward straight at her. Without thinking, Dodd launched forward, activating Holy Shield, blocking the blow in her place, but taking the full brunt of the monster's final strike. He spat blood and collapsed unconscious. Time passed. Dodd awoke to find himself in the infirmary, and next to him, a calm voice spoke. "You're awake, huh?" Hearing that, Dodd sat up quickly. "The monster? What happened? What about Elnor?" A girl with blue hair, reading a book nearby, responded casually. "The monster was defeated. Elnor's fine. All the students are safe." The answer took Dodd by surprise. After finishing her sentence, the girl calmly closed her book. She was Prime Minister Atalante. And of course, Dodd quickly realized who she was. Atalante Onesong, the immortal, a being who had lived over 1,000 years. Why would someone like her come to see me? Is it because I used Angel's benediction? Dodd wondered, puzzled. But before he could think any further, Atalante spoke. "After the freshman showdown, I didn't get a chance to speak with you properly. I'm here to deliver some bad news. And some truly horrible news." She smiled lightly, causing Dodd to tense up. What is it?" he asked, worried. At that, Atalante's voice turned serious.